always on target. CPAC, politics in action.
Hi, welcome to Beyond Politics. I'm Catherine Clark. Conservative Yukon MP Ryan Leef is a human dynamo. He has been a wildlife conservation officer, an RCMP officer, an assistant superintendent with the correction system, a cage fighter, and as of May 2011, he is the new MP for the Yukon Territory. Ryan Leef joins me now to talk all about life beyond politics. Ryan Leef, welcome to Beyond Politics. It's great to have you here.
Hi, thanks. Yeah, thanks very much for having us. It's great.
So how's it been? You've been doing this for several months now.
6 months now.
Yeah, how's it going?
Great. I love it.
Do you really?
I do.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, I've changed careers a few times, sort of maybe looking for my place in the world, and I think I found it now.
Oh, how neat is that?
Yeah, it's fantastic. I think I had an idea that I knew I would enjoy it, but I don't think I thought I would love it as much as I do. And I truly I know when I go to bed at 2 a.m. after getting off a flight from the Yukon, and then adjusting to a time zone and getting up at 6 and looking forward to that day, then you know you found the right career. So
when you decided to throw your hat into this ring, did you have any sense of what it was going to require on a day-to-day, week-to-week kind of basis?
I think I had an idea of what it was going to require from that point of view. I mean, there's little nuances and things that you have to learn along the way that I wasn't necessarily prepared for. Were pleasant surprises, but I think in terms of the volume of work, I knew what it was going to take, and in fact, if it wasn't going to be that way in terms of a schedule set for me, that was going to be the pace I was going to set for myself anyway, because I've always been very busy and very driven, so I knew what kind of pace I would push if it weren't set for me, and now it just seems like most of my day is set for me, and what's not, I fill.
What about the commute? Because you have an insane commute, really.
It's a long way. The trouble I have with it, if that's the right word, is more I find it downtime is unproductive for me, and it drives me a little nuts. You have 12 hours in travel time flying back to Whitehorse, and then 12 hours coming back. So I have about 24 hours where I can't unfold files in seat 13B and have my neighbors looking over all constituent files and personal work I want to do. So there's a lot of time that's down there, and I find that a bit frustrating. But in terms of adjusting, I don't wear a watch anymore, so I don't pay attention to time changes. I don't pay attention to what time it is. When work is done and it's dark, I go to sleep. When the alarm goes off, I get up, and that's how I'm managing it now. But so far so good, and I keep fit. So that's a big component to being able to sustain this busy schedule and that busy commute.
Yeah. How do you keep fit? I mean, how do you carve out the time for yourself to keep fit in a busy
odd hours, but I run.
Yeah.
I make sure I try and run as much as I can. Sometimes in the morning, sometimes it's late at night when I'm done the day, and sometimes I try and do both. I don't get on the green buses very often. In fact, the drivers of those green buses on Parliament Hill always laugh at me because they see me sprinting up the hill in my suit. So I take little opportunities all the time to exercise, and whether it's walking from the hill or running, and I have a little bit of a gym in my office, so I utilize that whenever I can.
What do you mean you have a little bit of a gym? What's a little bit of a gym?
Well, I put up some mats and my heavy bag and speed bag, and
we're trying. You hung them from the ceiling?
No, we weren't allowed to do that.
Okay,
so,
I was going to say, wow.
Yeah, no, we'd be in trouble for that. So no, I brought in a stand that actually holds up the heavy bag, and I have that in there. And part of that is just to promote health and fitness and healthy lifestyles out of our office, and we want to encourage all parliamentarians to be leaders in that front for the rest of Canadians. So I've just taken the step to do that, and the added benefit, of course, is that I have a little workout area in my own office to make sure that as the day goes and you only have 5 or 10 minutes at a time, you can actually get in a quick workout, because a whole bunch of little workouts is better than no workout at all. So.
You know what? I actually think that's a really interesting point to make, because for a lot of people the idea of getting in shape is so daunting because they think they have to commit huge amounts of time religiously every day to doing it. And you're saying, a little bit counts.
Absolutely. Yeah. And that's sometimes for me, it's just a matter of leaving the Justice Building and being able to run up to Parliament Hill.
Okay.
But if you can get that in, that's better than nothing. And I just do that every day. Rarely do I get an opportunity to spend a full hour working out. So I'll catch 20 minutes, 10 minutes, half an hour, multiple times a day, and so far so good. I haven't gained any weight yet, so that's good.
So what's your idea of a good workout then?
I mean, the best idea of a good workout for me is just an opportunity either to run back home in my riding, which is ideal. Like if I can get home and do a run in the trails in the Yukon is fantastic. That's such a stress reliever and just gets you away from everything. And as much as a fitness workout, it's just a complete body relaxer to be able to get out and run. But the other ideal workout would be doing the same thing here along the Ottawa River and the canal. It's fantastic.
What is it that got you so interested in being fit?
Well, to be honest, I think it started when I was in grade 4, and our teacher said that they were going to have a cross country meet, and the first 5 kids that to do 3 laps of the school got to miss Friday school and go to this cross country meet. And I thought, well, heck, that's a deal. So I just ran, and from that day, the rest was history from that point. But obviously, as I got more into it later in life, it became one of my passions, and then I started realizing the additional benefits to it. And in fact, for years for me, I wasn't a really strong student in school. But later in life, in my later grades and then into university, as I was committing more and more time and attention and dedication to running, that translated into my learning as well. So, I ended up graduating with an honors degree in criminology, and I can tell you right now, back in grade 5 or 6, my parents would have strongly bet against that occurring. So, there's a lot of spin-off benefits to being healthy all around, healthy mind, healthy body. So, yeah.
Have you ever been chased by a wild animal while running along the trail?
Oh, yeah, I have. Yeah, I've had close run-ins with grizzly bears, black bears, coyotes.
What do you do?
Dogs. Depends.
Okay.
It'll run the other way sometimes. Yeah. That's that old saying, you don't need to outrun a bear, you just need to outrun the friends you're with. So, yeah, I don't know how they're doing today, but I'm fine. Here I am.
So, is that not something that factors into your consideration of where you're going to run and when?
Oh, no, not so much. I mean, the Yukon trails are like around Whitehorse area are pretty safe, and all Yukoners are generally wild animal savvy folk people. Yeah, we know what's going on, so I wouldn't recommend it for most Southerners to just come run in our show. No, it's we integrate quite well, and it's a wilderness city, so you know what you're watching for, and you know what to pay attention to. And if you're getting deep in the bush, we run in groups, and generally it's quite safe. And I've never had a serious encounter. So
yeah. You talked at the beginning about having had. Actually, I'm gonna not go there first. I'm gonna go to your childhood first, because you're saying you weren't necessarily the best student.
Yeah.
What kind of kid were you though?
Highly energetic. Yeah,
that's really actually very hard to see. I just can't imagine that.
Yeah. Sitting here so calm today, I bet you're thinking, Jesus, what happened? That's probably
parents?
I would agree.
Boy.
My apologies right now to my mother. Yeah, and I think they're getting payback, because I have a 12-year-old son who's very active, and they just love watching that relationship grow right now. Yeah,
I bet they do.
Yeah. So, but I'm not complaining. Yeah.
So you were just an active kid. You were all over the place.
Mm-hmm.
You were
busy and into all kinds of sports, and had a great imagination and just loved getting outside, and that was before the computer age, and I don't remember sitting at home watching television or playing Atari or whatever was on back then. My parents literally had to drag me inside of the house at night and hold me in the house in the mornings, because I just wanted to be outdoors all day long. It was great.
Isn't that and nice that you're in a place where you can be that way, right? Like when you're outside, it's really outside. Like it's not like a 12 by 10 little backyard where you're lucky to see a tree. Like you were.
Yeah, total wilderness.
Yeah.
Yeah, we used to, my friends and I used to camp all summer long, and we'd just come home to check in for more groceries, and then we'd be off again and spend our summer breaks just camping wherever. And of course, it's not far from Whitehorse before you're right into the wilderness. And I grew up in a few of the communities as well, so there was, lakes and rivers. And I remember as a little kid biking home with my fingers frozen and the graylings. They're a Yukon fish stacked on my handlebars and biking with the fish lined up on my handlebars, my fingers frozen, heading home to clean them, and you just stay out and fish until you couldn't stand it anymore. You just be frozen, but we just had a blast. But it was a fantastic way of growing up.
You said you lived in a couple of the communities. Why were you moving around?
My dad was a Fish and Wildlife officer. He worked for the Department of Environment there,
right.
And so it was a transitional position, and then that's the line of work that I got into later in life, and I did the exact same thing. I was moved from community to community, serving the Yukon and as a conservation officer and a member of the Royal Canadian Mounted Police. So it was great. It was a great opportunity.
Did it? Do you remember? Was it tough to move around to all these different communities as a kid because you're making new friends and you're...
No, I loved it. It was just something we were used to. We moved around so much that I didn't know any different, and we had sort of stable, family that stayed stable in different locations, and you knew what that life was like, and it was fun and comforting to go back to family who had lived in the same home for 25 years, and we just didn't do that. But I loved it. I don't recall ever having any issues with that, and I met some wonderful people because of it, and I never really had any trouble making friends, and I'm who I am today because of those opportunities to move around. So I'm thankful today that my parents had the courage and adventure to actually do that, because it must have been some tough decisions for them to make big moves like that away from family and
worrying about you, like worrying about kids and how they're going to react.
Yeah.
Do you have siblings?
I have a sister.
You have a sister, okay.
Yeah, she's a bit older than me, and she, led quite a life of adventure as well. Spent years in Australia, living there and going to school there, and she's traveled all over the world and done some remarkable things. So that sense of adventure is just worn off on both of us, and undoubtedly that's going to get passed on to our kids. And I think it's just such a great way for youth to grow up nowadays. Especially we have such a small world and an easy way to access it. It'd be a shame not to branch out and check out everything there is to check out on this planet with what time we've got to do it.
That's a really great point. I mean, I think that, to move back to the line of discussion I was going to head down, which was about the obvious versatility that you have shown in a few careers.
Yeah.
And I bet that that's part of your upbringing too, right? I mean,
For sure.
Or are you just someone who gets bored really easily?
No, I've enjoyed everything I've taken on. I've enjoyed the challenge, but I've never been afraid to take that next leap and try and create opportunity for myself. And that definitely comes from my upbringing. It'd be easy, I think, to get comfortable in a position, and you might find great satisfaction in staying with something forever. But I've also watched a number of friends and colleagues just feel as though they've been in a rut. And honestly, I've never ever felt like I'm stuck in a rut and there's nothing I can do about it. I've always felt there's a way to improve life. There's a way to take an opportunity, face a challenge, look forward to it. And there's nothing you do in life that you can't undo if it's the wrong choice. And when we're talking about careers and work and those kind of things. So I've always just had a really positive attitude that way, and things have worked out well.
I was going to say, you seem to just have a truly positive approach to life.
Yeah. Believe me, I wake up every day and go, all right, I'm alive again. This is good. Now we can start our day.
Is that because there was a concern for a while that you might not wake up in the morning?
No, maybe you'd have to ask my parents that. But no, I don't understand. I'm grateful for what I have, and I don't understand. I have a hard time relating when people look at things if the glass is half empty. It's a bit discouraging for me when you try and bring as much sunshine to something as you can, and then somebody invariably comes along and brings the rain.
Yeah.
I've just never been like that, so I try and find the positive in everything, and I don't believe there's problems in life. And courtesy of some great leaders that I've had in my life mentoring me, one of my greatest mottos is there's no such thing as a problem, only an opportunity, an opportunity to teach, an opportunity to learn, or in most cases an opportunity to do a little bit of both. And from that perspective, you just don't see problems in your ways. You see great chances to improve yourself or improve somebody else's life. And when you embrace that, it's clear sailing. Take my word for it.
Okay, I'm going to leave here and do that.
Can I sell that?
That's right. We can call this Beyond Politics a self-help show.
Yeah. Forget Dr. Phil.
That's right.
Yeah.
Just tune into CPAC.
Yeah, there you go. We'll see how the ratings boost now.
So tell me what attracted you to politics then, or why you decided to become active in the political field at all. Because you're really young still. You've had a lot of interesting jobs. Yeah. There are probably any other number of interesting things that you could have done in the Yukon that would have kept you there, that would have saved you 24 hours of travel a week.
Oh, yeah.
So
thanks for reminding me. Wait a minute. No, I had a great career. I was the Deputy Superintendent of Operations at the Whitehorse Correctional Facility. We were moving into a brand new facility that was going to really change the face of the corrections model in the territory, which I think is still an exciting endeavor and one I was really looking forward to being a major part of, and was up until the point that I put my name into the political arena. But the reason the ultimate decision I made, which was less than a year ago today. So I announced my intentions in January 15th, I think, of this year. And I had an inkling in late November, December that it would be something I would do, not 100% sure if an election was coming. But truly, I really believed that we needed, the country needed a majority government. I saw how well things were going in the Yukon, even with a minority. I saw how well, in my opinion, the Conservative government was treating the territory. So I thought, that was something we needed to start rewarding the territory for. And then I was a bit disappointed in the vote on the long gun registry in the past, so that sort of spurred me on. There was a few things, and they all just kind of compiled into one. And I've never been the kind of person to stand around too long and complain about something. I figure if you're going to complain, you may as well offer up some solutions and do something. So there I found myself saying, okay, quit complaining and put your name forward, and I did, and here I am.
What was the reaction first from your family?
Well, my dad actually sent me an email because he was in Arizona when I told him, and he said, what are you, crazy? Have you thought about this? You actually have to know government policy and debate, and he was just concerned about, it came as a surprise to him because I didn't, understandably for work reasons, I didn't announce my intentions broadband to everybody, and I didn't necessarily tell them. So he was a bit surprised, but then when they got comfortable with the idea, they were very supportive. My mom actually grabbed him by the ear and drug him back from Arizona to help on the campaign and said, our son's in the campaign, we have to get back to the Yukon and help him out. So I'm sorry,
Which is a really big sacrifice.
That's right.
For someone from the Yukon
who's
in Arizona.
I know, I cut his golfing vacation short, so I owe him one for that. But the reaction from my family was great. I definitely checked with friends ahead of time. I have some great friends in the Yukon who were very blunt, and I ran it by them, and they'd definitely tell me if I was nuts. And most of them said, well, good for you. What took you so long? So that was encouraging because
you were running against someone who had been there a long time.
Yeah. And well liked and well respected. I mean, Larry was a great MP, well respected by the Yukon, and it still is. And we knew, in order to take that on and ask for a change or a shift, we wanted to do it, carefully, and it wasn't going to be an easy thing to be able to do. But I just approached it like, hey, I'm putting my name forward. The voters can make the choice. I'm just one of 4 candidates that are going to put their best foot forward, and they get to choose. And they did, and it was close. So by no means was it a shoe-in for me. And the reaction for sure was mixed. I mean, people were concerned about my age, concerned about not having the stability of Larry's experience in Ottawa, and I've got 4 years, so we've been working really hard early on to just try and bridge that gap a bit of people's concerns, and I think we're doing well.
Do you think people from the Yukon elect a certain type of person to office? I mean, is there a sense that because you're a community that has to survive in a harsh climate with, for the most part in a fairly in a wilderness setting. Do you think that they elect certain kind of people, certain personalities?
I think they focus on the personalities for sure. I think the Yukon is more in tune with the personality and the member of parliament as a person that they put in Ottawa than any party line. I think my predecessors would agree with that statement that they're focusing on the individual far more than they are on a party. And what that personality makeup is, I don't know. I mean, we've seen a range. The youngest MP was Eric Nielsen. I think he was elected at 33, and then we've had members of parliament elected into their 60s. So to pin down a demographic, we've had conservative, NDP, liberal. We've had men and women. And a varying age range. So I'm not sure what the actual characteristics of the individual are, but obviously, just somebody that resonates with Yukoners, that is a proud and loud voice for the territory is someone that's going to capture the imagination and the vote of the riding. Yeah.
Tell me about your son. How did he react to it? And what's it like for you to be traveling so much when he's 12?
Yeah. Oh, he was great. I don't think he fully understood at the time what it all meant. But he got involved and was pretty excited about it. I was careful to try and involve him to a degree, but not so much that became his life. He's, like you say, he's 12. He's an 11-year-old boy. He's turning 12 this April. He still needs to be a boy and enjoy his family, his dad, and things 11-year-old boys want to enjoy. But we just gave him just enough of a taste that he understood what was going on. He was fantastic. He was so mature and such a big boy through the whole process. And 37 days I wasn't around a lot. But what time we had together was great. We just spent good time together as father and son, not engaged in politics or talking about it.
Right.
So, sometimes we just sit down and play games together, Xbox or board games. He loves Monopoly, so and he kicks my butt in Monopoly. He's a tycoon. So when I go back, it's tough having that distance, but thank goodness for modern technology. We can text, we can Skype, we can Facebook, we can email. He keeps up with things, and we talk on a regular basis. And then when I get home, I always make sure that I set time aside for just he and I. And sometimes it's just goofing off at home and watching a movie, and sometimes we get out with his pellet gun and grouse hunt and fish. So he likes the outdoors too. So we definitely make time for that, and it's good.
Yeah. I wanted to ask you about your cage fighting.
Yeah. And
I thought perhaps the viewers of CPAC would appreciate a definition of what that is.
Well, I thought you were going to say a demonstration. To say, look, I don't want to get beat up today.
I thought it up. Yeah.
Well, it's mixed martial arts.
Okay.
It's just a combination of traditional martial arts and traditional fighting sports like wrestling, boxing, kickboxing, Muay Thai, jiu-jitsu, judo.
Okay. Are you actually in a cage?
Yeah. Yeah.
Why? Are you in a cage?
It's just the forum they have. It's probably safer than the ring because rings, when you're grappling around, you have a tendency to fall through the ropes.
Okay.
So that's a little dangerous. The cage itself is like a plastic coated cage. It's very soft. It's not like you're in a hard metal cage.
Right.
And it's just the trademark design they've come up with.
It sounds kind of violent.
It sure does. It sounds crazy.
Is that why people prefer to call it MMA, mixed martial arts, or?
Yeah, and I think that's an accurate reflection of the sport. It is a mixing of all the sports that we traditionally have celebrated in the Olympics or put our kids into with traditional Aikido or karate or Taekwondo. I mean, we're sending our kids out to those classes all the time to learn those traditional things. Now we're just taking all those things that are some of them taught in school, like wrestling, and then boxing, which is an amateur federation sport, and we're just combining all of that into one integrated system, and so that's where it gets its name, mixed martial arts. And so, how did you get involved? I was pretty young. I was 36. Oh. Yeah. It was 2 years ago. Really? Yeah. You just got involved 2 years ago. Yeah, I have a bucket list. I didn't bring it. It's big. So that was on my bucket list. Okay. Yeah. And what's it like? Is it violent? Like, are you getting... Well, you get hit. Are you losing teeth? And no. Bloodied? I'm good. Yeah. No, yeah, I mean, you get a black eye. But people ask about that all the time. Yeah. And... it's, there's great safety rules and regulations around it. The athletes involved are true athletes. They're professionals and very sportsmanlike, and the regulations around it are quite safe. So from that end of it, it's a relatively safe sport. Sure, there's kicking and wrestling and punching going on, not really any different than boxing. And when you talk about the injury rate as an example, so we put it in perspective, if you go down the long list of injured athletes, or the injury list for professional football, professional hockey, or professional baseball even, far more on that injury list than there is in mixed martial arts because of the safety regulations and tight controls around it. And I represented Canada for years on a distance running team, and I can tell you my preference would be to have the black eye I get from mixed martial arts than to pull my hamstring or get tendonitis or some foot ailment or a sprained foot from running, because those can be career ending, and they can be long time recovery injuries even if they're not career ending, whereas in mixed martial arts, I've had a pretty good shiner before, but other than walking around in public, it doesn't slow you down at all. It just kind of looks goofy.
So other than a good shiner, what do you get out of it?
Well, I mean, the fitness component of it is starting to grow in Canada. So, I mean, there's a lot of people gaining interest in the sport just for pure fitness, because it's combining so many different elements of so many different sports. You're gaining some skill, but tremendous strength and core fitness. And these are people that have no interest in ever getting in the cage, let's say, and actually fighting and applying those skills. They just want to learn them in the fitness capacity. So I think that's a good news sign. But yeah, I mean, you get dedication, you get fitness, you get skill development, and I guess we're human after all, and humans thrive for competition, and I've always been competitive, so that maybe fills a small part of that, but that's a very small part of why you get into that kind of sport. I initially did it because I wanted to sort of complete a resume picture for the defensive tactics training that I did for the Department of Justice in the Yukon, and I ran self-defense clinics for women at their in the Yukon Territory. And the number one question that comes up in this day and age is, what happens if you get attacked by a guy from mixed martial arts? And that's not the reality, but it's one thing to say it, and it's another thing to have been there, and then be able to bring that experience back to the class and actually talk. You gain a lot more credibility when you're able to speak from a first-hand perspective. So that's part of the reason I did it as well.
You also got involved, used it to try and combat bullying.
Yeah, that was a fantastic clinic. We did that last week in Carmax. We had 35 youth come out to that, and put that in perspective, the community is about 350 people.
Wow.
We had kids from that community and kids from a small community of Faro that's around 500 or 600 in that community as well. We had community rec leaders. We had the Territorial Minister of Justice came out. We had athletes from Mixed Martial Arts Club, UFC Canada, sent us straw prizes. But we talked about the anti-bullying message, and really what we were promoting was leadership, community investment, dedication, self-esteem development, and really bringing mixed martial arts along with the anti-bullying message. And it's important to do that, because if you're trying to bring that message to youth between 12 and 18, if you don't have something that they can connect with, the message doesn't sink in.
Sure.
They're hugely invested in MMA, and it resonated. So it was a tremendous seminar that we put on for them. It was great.
So all in all, given the past 6 months, what's been the best part?
Wow. I think I'd have to go right down to what we've been able to do for individuals in the riding. I mean, I've gained so much from being the Yukon's representative, and it's provided me the ultimate forum and opportunity to represent the territory, which has always been very important to me. But when I look down at the most satisfying things, we've had individual cases that have come up where people needed help and assistance to get through the bureaucracy, the red tape, the sometimes confusing government systems, where they truly need the assistance of the Member of Parliament, and to be able to work people through that and see a positive result at the end of the day, and you make one person tremendously happy is just so satisfying. That's a terrific experience, and we've had a few of those now, and that's been the best experience that I've had for sure so far.
I really appreciate you taking the time to be here. On our next show, if you'll come back, we're going to walk point by point through your bucket list.
All right.
Maybe we'll come up.
Episode 3.
Thank you very much for being here.
Thank you.
It's Glenn McGuinness, Puneet Berge, and Heather Seaman. Join them as they crisscross the country in search of your opinion on the places.
I think the East is very career-driven, and I think the West is a little more laid-back pace.
The politics.